What's up, everyone? And yes, I know I did a similar video, but this is about games, and that one was about sales numbers. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, that doesn't that doesn't affect this video. This is a standalone video, no other parts. So let's continue watching. So, Resident Evil. It's a well-known horror game or action game, depending on which one you got. And before Resident Evil, what were some other horror games you can think of? We got Sweet Home, other games that I didn't list. But Resident Evil just breathed new life into the horror genre, with its maps and puzzles and its fixed camera angles that sucked. But with Resident Evil came iconic enemies like the zombie dog or the tyrant. More on the tyrant than the zombie dogs, but you know. With the great story, lovable characters, and the zombies, it's not hard to see how Resident Evil took off. And with Resident Evil, it made people more open to games like Dying Light, because Dying Light totally only would have took off if Resident Evil existed. And with many more games that got a road paved by Resident Evil 1, like Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, etc. But then came Resident Evil 2. New story, better graphics, still fixed camera angle, but it's still a more open world. And sure, it's still just one map, but, you know, you could still just dick around for 2 hours and at the police station still trying to find the code to one locker, because you didn't have YouTube back then. Well, Mr. X is chasing you, looking for that locker code. But just like Resident Evil 1, there were two characters you could play as, but with a surprise. If you play Story A and take everything, you might have a harder time in Story B because you stole everything. And also, Ada's there. So, 5 million copies sold. Then comes Resident Evil 3, yet again. Better graphics, new story, new tyrant like Nemesis, and Jill, a beloved character. But then comes a new Resident Evil, and it's evolved, new Pokemon stage. And a beloved character, Leon, returns to save Ashley. And now it's focused on, instead of horror, action, and you have better graphics yet again, but also you have new enemies, more combat, and better gameplay, which is easier to control. So, what else could you want? New enemies? Yeah, you got that. No more zombies. Well, they're like zombies, but smarter. And with new lore to the game, what else could you want? And Leon's no longer just a cop. He's stronger, smarter, and works for the government. So then, 5, nothing that new, different virus, but it's still pretty cool. But let's skip to the next evolution of Resident Evil. Resident Evil 7. So after the lackluster Resident Evil 6, they had to go make things better. So what do? They make Resident Evil 7 go back to the Resident Evil horror roots. Now, it's first person, even scarier than the originals, and a new character, Ethan Winters. And in this game, you don't need to play the other games because it's a whole new story. And like I said before, now it's in first person, you can get immersed with the atmosphere. And then in Resident Evil 7 and 8, there's a VR mode, which makes it even better. And with Mia and Ethan getting back home for Resident Evil 7 safely, everyone wonders what will happen next. And then here comes Resident Evil 8. Same loved characters, new story, and plus you got a DLC giving you a brand new story everyone can't wait to play. Well, I can't say everyone because half the people I know don't even know what Resident Evil is, but now you have to wonder about the future of Resident Evil. With Resident Evil 8 being the most open world Resident Evil yet, mostly everyone loved this. This installment to the series, and plus in the new Rose DLC, it hints that Ethan might be back. So, with rumors about the next Resident Evil game, you have to wonder, will the story go back to the same old characters like Leon, Claire, Jill? Or will it continue the plot of 7 and 8? But yeah. So Resident Evil 8 and 7 were a great comeback to remove the hate to Resident Evil after Resident Evil 6, and restoring the horror part of Resident Evil. I think Resident Evil still has a great future that it will live up to. But after all that, after the lows and the highs, Resident Evil still stands with some of the best video games out there. I mean, Resident Evil 4 set the standard for third-person shooters, and yeah. Sure, the first-person shooters were not that new, and Resident Evil 4 technically set more impact. Resident Evil 7 and 8 still did so much to change, and I think that it has had a big impact on the gaming interest. I can't speak today. Okay, never mind, I can't speak today. But anyway, yeah, so as you can tell, Resident Evil has changed so much, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. And there's still a ton of Resident Evil games, and if you want to know about the forgotten Resident Evil games, click on the end screen. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to sub. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. And also, just remember, never buy Resident Evil 6.